Here we are, Coach Hancock and Coach Boudreau with the Wrestling Vault. We have the privilege of having Oregon State Associate Head Coach Nate Engel on with us today. Nate, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to chatting with you guys today.
Hey, just want to give our listeners and our fellow vaulters a little bit of background information on you. Obviously, the Associate Head Coach at Oregon State right now. Previously was at Stanford with Coach Borelli and his crew, and then spent a lot of time at the Naval Academy, as well as the Olympic Training Center up in Northern Michigan as a Greco World Team member. So, and also was Adeline Gray's personal coach at the Olympic Games. So congratulations on all your recent success.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, just want to, coming off the NCAA championships in Detroit, being at Catholic Central, I had the privilege of getting to obviously watch Oregon State work out in our wrestling room and get a chance to meet you and your staff. And what a remarkable tournament you guys had in Detroit. Talk to us a little bit about, that tournament in specific, your season and how you guys are dealing with the success. In 2021, I looked up the stats yesterday. You guys finished 46th in the country, not a single All-American. Fast forward to 2022, you guys were the hot team of the weekend. You went 4 for 6 in the blood rounds, crowned 4 All-Americans, and finished 12th in the country. So just an absolute remarkable finish for your Beavers. Talk a little bit about the excitement around the program.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a whirlwind, right? I remember sitting with you, I think it was Tuesday at your wrestling room and just kind of chatting. And, I think you had asked, how many All-Americans do you think you could have? And I said, well, I think I'd be happy with, I think we can get at least 2. And, anymore, we'd be ecstatic because like you said, the year before we finished 46th in the country. But those guys came back and kept working hard, right? And we got a couple of transfers and, we just had another full year to grow with our team. And so going into that weekend, we started off pretty hot. And then not only that, Friday or Thursday night, Hunter Willits beat Carr, who, was on a 55 match win streak. And I feel like that momentum really got the team fired up to keep going, because when you have a guy like Hunter who works his butt off and he's been there day in and day out against some of the top guys in the country, and, he'll either lose by a point or win by a point, and it's always very tight, close matches for him, just to kind of go out there. And not only that, his first match, he started off with a former assistant coach, right, in Berge, and had to ride him and just, rode him for a whole period and won the match. So, then we continued on. Friday morning was kind of not the best round, but then, we got done with that first round Friday morning, and we go back to the hotel. And I remember BK coming in, my 125 pounder, and he's just sitting there, and, you could tell he was very, very nervous, because that's the type of person that he is. And I said, hey, like, this is just another wrestling match, right? You can't think about tomorrow. You can't think about next year. You may only have one opportunity to become an All-American, right? But no matter what, that's not going to change your legacy of who you are as a person. And so about an hour later, he came back still nervous. And I said, what are you thinking? He goes, okay, coach, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to take him down a couple of times. I'm going to suck him back. I'm going to pin him, and I'm going to jump in your arms. And that's literally what happened. And then we won 3 more matches. And then obviously Trey and Gary losing was heartbreaking, but to punch 4 through to Saturday and to have 4 All-Americans, the most since 1995 in year 2 was just outstanding. And not only that, Chris, was Pac-12 Coach of the Year, and he hates being patted on his back. He tells us we're all a family. There's no job titles. There's nothing. We're just a family. And so I think that's a testament to his belief in the program and the way he runs it.
Well, I'll tell you what, the momentum, obviously starting off with Kaler at 25 and then getting into Turner at 33, and then the Willits boys, that place was rocking, and it looked like the coaches were having so much fun. You were having fun, Coach Pendleton and, Isaiah Martinez is on staff. You guys are really have something going out west. Talk a little bit about what makes your staff special and what brought you to Oregon State. I read a little blurb on the Oregon State website, and I'll share this with our viewers, which I think speaks volumes about the staff and why Pendleton maybe brought you in. It indicates that you're recognized as an excellent recruiter, Engel landed consecutive top 20 recruiting class while with the midshipmen. But this is the quote that sort of drew my interest. Speaking with other head coaches across the country, a name kept coming up as someone I should look to immediately, and that was Nate Engel. I had the pleasure of getting to know Nate and his wife, Michaela, last fall at Estonia at the World Championships, and knew that he was someone I wanted to work with one day. I guess that says a lot about Coach Pendleton and what he sees in you, but elaborate on your staff. And what I saw on that Tuesday was, like you indicated earlier, was a family. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you got two guys from the same high school in Lemoore, California, right? Chris Pendleton, two-time obviously national champ, and then Isaiah, four-time finalist, two-time national champ. And it's crazy because we joke with Chris all the time that, man, you're the second best wrestler to come out of Lemoore High School. And most of the time, like, you come from a little tiny school like that in Central California, but there's such great wrestling there. So Chris knew Isaiah for a long time. I got to know Chris going overseas with him a few trips. We were at Junior Worlds, and he actually hung out with my wife more than he hung out with me because I was the head Greco coach, and he had Colton Schultz. But every single day we go to work, it's like you said, it truly is a family, and we all work together. And I think we all have one vision and one goal, and that's just to keep creating men of character, right? Not just All-Americans and national champs, because we tell every kid when they come in and their parents, like, we don't have a crystal ball to say, hey, you're going to be this many time All-American or national champ. But the one thing we're going to promise you is you're going to get a good education. You're going to get a degree, and hopefully a master's degree too. So I think as a staff, we all value the right things, and then that trickles down to our team as well. And they've all value, the right things. It's tough being 18 to 23 years old, as you guys know, being in college and making the right decisions. And if we can keep making the right decisions and show our guys, hey, here's the road, you guys are the drivers in the car, we're just the passengers. Sometimes we're going to tell you to turn left, you may turn right, but we're going to get you right back on track and keep the ball rolling. So I think that's the biggest thing, is we just value, we try to value the right things and show them, hey, this is what you need to be successful off the mat 20 years down the road, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, I think you could see that in the interactions that you guys had with your athletes, and Pendleton was so down to earth and was willing to talk to, a lot of our staff members. So it was a pretty unique experience. And talk a little bit about your warm up. So we had Purdue in the room prior to you guys, and your warm up and your pre-match routine was quite a bit different than Purdue's. Talk a little bit about the footwork drills that you guys were doing, and then built into the pre-tournament workout.
Yeah, so typically, like, day before, day of, the guys, they don't really want to think. They just want to be told what to do. And they're so used to it by the end of the year. But Chris has some really good footwork drills. And I think that was a lot of stuff that he learned from Coach Smith. So, he'll get them through that, kind of get them warmed up so they're sweating, and then I'll take over. And actually, the workout that we do was Ray Blake, when I was at Stanford, would always put the guys through that. And I'm thinking, like, man, why do we keep doing this? Some of these guys, they want to do their own thing, but then after a while of just, like, it just clicks in their mind, okay, it's time to compete. I don't have to think about it anymore. I've done everything I need to do to be successful. Now coach is just going to run my cut weight workout, and I just do what I'm told. And they usually always know how much they're going to lose every time we do that workout. And then, sometimes we'll pull back if they look a little tired from the travel and just kind of cut them loose. But I just like it because we know how much they're going to lose, and it's just a little bit easier, and our minds are put at ease, with their weight cuts. So
can you go into, I don't know if you want to give away secrets or not, but, like, is there any specifics you can talk about what that is? And we had Ray Blake on the vault too, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, did a nice job. So I'm just kind of curious as a coach.
Yeah. So what we do is we'll start with like a 6 minute, kind of 6 to 8 minutes on their own, just jogging, stretching, some sprints in there. And then we do 5 down and back sprints. And then we do 3 30-second stance in motion. And in between each 30-second stance in motion, they'll do jumping jacks for 15 seconds. And each stance in motion, will kind of get progressively more. First one will just be, typical stance in motion. Then we'll throw some shots in there, then shots and sprawls. And then after that, then we start doing different things like collar tie, just moving a collar tie, getting your hands inside, and go through about 6 to 8 different 30-second, just moving a guy, right? Because I think our guys, and probably everybody's wrestlers, right, when they're drilling, they just want to shoot one shot and finish. And they don't realize that, hey, I got to actually move this guy, in competition. So that gets our mind kind of thinking that way. And then we start getting into our different shots, single legs, double legs, finish to a Turk. I'm sure Mitch, as you know, Borelli was a big Turk guy and probably still is at American, but those are big points. So we drill that in their head, and then a few more different, we'll do some throws just to put some fun stuff into it, feet to back. Then we'll do some, top and bottom stuff as far as, 4 minutes on their own. They're turning a guy, switching around, and then we'll do leg in, getting out of legs. And then we'll do 10 wall touches, just to get their mind away from wrestling for a second, get a sip of water, come back. And then we'll do lift and returns to a strong ride. And then we'll do some defensive, reattacks, different stuff like that. And then pretty much that's about it. And then they'll do 2 1 minute, as many takedowns as you can get with a 20-second hand fight. Then the other guy goes and you'll do that 2 times. And then whatever they want, Corey Crooks would always jump on the bike and cut a little bit extra weight. Same with the Willits and a few other guys. But besides that, they'll just stretch. And that's about, I'd say 45 to 50 minutes. And then typically the morning of, I'll cut that down in half. And so it'll be much shorter. 1, because you don't have as much time. And 2, they've already cut weight. So
yeah, I know it goes different for every wrestler, but maybe some of the high school kids that are listening on here, you said how much you're going to lose and how important that is. Obviously, that'll probably change from beginning to end
right
as you figure it out. But like, what do you think a guy loses? Because you probably know their weight's going in.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, at 125, probably 2 to 4 pounds, all the way up to heavyweight, probably, 6 to 8 pounds, just because, they're heavyweights. But I mean, I would say Corey Crooks, that wrestled 149, had it down to his science, and he would come in like 7 over and lose 7. And then Hunter Willits would probably come 7 or 8 over and lose most of it. Trey Munoz would probably come, he doesn't cut a ton of weight, but he would try to drink up and be really hydrated and probably lose about 8 pounds during it. So,
Wow.
it's just, they're just consistently moving and not having to think. And I think that's so much easier than, when coach is like, hey, Steve and Joe, you guys grab each other, do whatever you want for 45 minutes. And then, how they're just kind of lollygag for 45 minutes. And then they're like, oh, I only lost a pound. And it's like, well, you guys didn't do anything. So.
And RJ could probably tell you, we see that all the time at high school tournaments. It's amazing, right? There's no plan. There's no preset warm up. And I think the kids starve, right, for that routine. They starve for that discipline, and they starve to get their minds right. So we think it's ultraly important in our programs. I know it's something we put up on our vault, our pre-match workouts. So we're giving these structures out to these coaches to utilize. So it's nice to hear that you guys have something set at Oregon State. Can you elaborate? Right, big state tournament we have here in Michigan. Obviously, it's a big deal. NCAA
right.
tournament, big deal. Right, you guys found a lot of success. You guys looked like you were having fun. You were keeping it light. Can you elaborate how you juggle those emotions? I know you talked a little bit about Kaylor being nervous. How do you juggle their emotions and nervousness prior to those big matches?
Yeah, I think, Chris said it, like, I want to say Wednesday night, we had a coaches meeting, or maybe it was Thursday morning. And he's like, hey guys, this tournament's unforgiving. He's like, there's going to be somebody that's going to lose that shouldn't lose. And when we move on to the next guy, you got to drop that emotion and just get the next guy ready. And so whoever was in one of the guys' corners that was wrestling, one of the coaches was with another athlete and another coach with another athlete, and just keeping them away from the mat. So they're not trying to, wrestle the match for their teammate and then be mentally exhausted by the time they go out there. So we just kept it light. I mean, we just, you just grab them. Most of them are listening to music and, just talk to them and talk about other things than wrestling, not who's wrestling right now or who they're wrestling next round, but just staying in the moment because, we did a lot of scouting, the coaches before, but we just would talk to them, a couple hours before their first match or the night before. Hey, this is what you need to look for, but just worry about yourself. That's it. You got to worry about yourself for 7 minutes, 1 point at a time. And if you do that, you'll get your hand raised. And that was kind of our philosophy the whole year. Was it's just a 7-minute match. Maybe there's some overtime, but if you worry about what you need to do in your job, everything else will take care of itself. And so that was kind of just our attitude going through the whole tournament. And even when a guy lost, BK lost to Glory, and I grabbed him after the match, and he was kind of upset and said, "Hey, listen, you don't have time to feel sorry for yourself. Like, pick your chin up, go in the back, grab your stuff, go back to the hotel. We'll talk some more, but you got to get over it, right? You got to have a quick memory and get ready for the next match." And that's just, for those guys that lost, Grant kind of obviously wrestling Nick Lee, kind of got his knee banged up a little bit, and we went back to the hotel, and he was fine after that. But, he was nervous. He had losses to Chad Red four times in his career, once this year. Goes out there and Chad Reds him, cradles him up in the second period and pins him. And that's typically, and not taking anything away from Chad, phenomenal wrestler. When the lights are on, that guy shines too. But the fact that Grant did that and pinned him to become an All-American was something I will never forget. So
the fact that Turner knocked off Courtney of Arizona State, Grant knocks off Alan Hart in the championship round, comes back and beats Chad Red in the consies, and then Hunter Willits at 57 knocks off David Carr. It just shows that you guys obviously are preaching the right things prior to matches, and not the winning or losing so much, right?
Yeah. And I think, Chris talked about it before every single dual tournament, right? You got to be willing to go out there and punch them in the face first, right? At some point, you're going to be down by 4. Something bad's going to happen in a match, but you got to be able to crawl out of that hole and get right back to it and score points. And that was a consistent message that Chris talked about all year to our guys. And there were times, Grant Willits was wrestling Utah Valley Kid in a duel, and right off the bat gave up 4, came back, ended up, I think, tech pinning him. So that was just a consistent message that, like, you can't plan for what's going to happen. There's a thought in your head that you're going to think, this is how I want the perfect match, but it's never perfect. So, yeah, and Chris too was talking to somebody, and they said we had the most upsets, the most ranked wins, all year of a team. And maybe that's because the people, the rankers, they didn't believe in us, and that's okay, right? That's their job to do stuff like that. Our job is to go out there and compete at the highest level. So that was kind of a fun stat that we heard after the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, awfully impressive. College wrestling is changing, right? Talk to us a little bit about the NIL, and the movement that's taking place with these athletes changing schools for monetary gain. Talk to me a little bit about how you guys are managing it as a program, what a high school athlete can look for when they come to wrestling. Is there money in wrestling? Does the average high school athlete expect to earn some money? Talk a little bit about the big change and how you guys are managing it.
Yeah, obviously you guys have seen it. It's gotten a little crazy right now, right? With guys getting 6-figure deals and that type of stuff. We haven't really dealt with it too much at Oregon State. I know our administration is really working behind the scenes and kind of helping us navigate, the rules and regulations with that. We had some guys selling t-shirts, so they have this app that they have to get on called Open Endorse, and they put everything in there, who's paying them what, or, I'm selling t-shirts. I think Gary and Devin sold t-shirts and whatnot. And I think that's good, to make some money while you're in college. But I don't know how to say it correctly without biting my own tongue, but I think it's good that they're making money. I just think that the haves and the have-nots are, it's going to grow even bigger, right? And 2, I think it's tough if I was a person that wasn't in wrestling, but I'm a donor to pay some athlete X amount of dollars, and then that athlete who's 18 years old gets to college and doesn't have the first year or second year like he wants to, what's going to happen then when the donor says, hey, you're not really worth what we're paying you and performing the way I want you to perform, maybe not the coaching staff, but the way that this donor wants, who's not in the room every single day and not dealing with the student athlete and their mental health and everything else that goes into it, then they take their money away, so I just think it's a sticky situation. I think it's good. I think it's good that kids can make money, right? And have a little bit of money in their pocket. I know a lot of schools with the Alston Act it's like a little under $6,000. And I know Oregon State is working on that right now. I think West Virginia just put it out and a few other schools. So as long as you're on a roster at that university, you'll get $6,000 a year in your pocket, to be on a Division I roster. So I think that's good. Extra money for them helps. And probably like when we were going to college, it's like, oh, I'm going to eat some ramen. I'm going to eat this. And hopefully they can spend that money wisely, or, the guys that are making big money, hopefully they can put it away and not go buy, 10 pairs of Jordans and do the right thing.
For me, I like the NIL stuff's really, changed the game, but so has the transfer portal, and I feel like I heard you talking about, your goal of just building men of character. And I feel like, this is an assumption, but if you're recruiting that, if those are the kind of guys you're recruiting, the transfer portal maybe won't be as big of a obstacle for you guys because you guys got the right guys and maybe there is some loyalty, but it's just changed so much. You were locked in back when we were in college, of being at that school. It's hard to get out of it. Now it's like,
Right.
I don't know. It's like, do you have to cater to your guys so they don't leave, or?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think the kids that we're coaching have changed a little bit from when all of us were in college, but I think for us, we had 3 transfers this past year. We have another one coming in, Tristan Lara from UNI. Great kid. I talked to their staff and they were telling us, he's just in a tough weight and, getting him a fresh start. But we were lucky with our transfers. I mean, Corey Crooks, Trey Munoz, and Gary Traub, great human beings. They fit in perfectly, but we like to really do our homework a lot with transfers because, kind of like you said, we don't want to take some wrestler to come in and blow up everything that we've built for the past 2 years and that culture, because as you guys know, it can be taken away from your team in a matter of a second by bringing in one bad apple. So we'll bring them in and we'll talk to them. We'll reach out to coaches, their college coach, and a lot of other people to see, what type of people they are. We'll let them go hang out with the guys at night and see, what kind of lifestyle they want to live in. And so, we're not going to just take any transfer. We're going to do our homework and make sure that they fit into the family and help us keep growing. So, but I think it's good and bad. I think the bad part is it's like you could have a bad NCAA tournament and, you have doubt or self-doubt. It's like, well, maybe I could go wrestle for this school. Well, there were some big time transfers this year that went and wrestled for some schools that didn't place, right? So the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And that's not a knock on those guys. It just, is what it is, right? The NCAA tournament is such a tough tournament that you could be an All-American or national champ one year and not place the next year. So hopefully those kids think about that and take a deep breath. And when they get back from the tournament or have a bad match and they go home and they think about it and they can self-reflect and just think like life isn't that bad. The message we always relay to our guys is like, this is the best time of your life. This 5 years is literally the best time of your life. When you graduate and you start paying bills and have a family and kids and all that stuff, that's tough. And you can't just get in the transfer portal and go transfer and, push life's problems away. So, I don't know.
Great way to look at it. That's a great way to look at it. I like that.
Coach, recruiting wise, right? We just talked about the transfer portal. Are you guys looking for your high school athletes coming out of high school, or do you first go to the portal and figure out what needs you have and who can fit in there? How does this change the game for a senior who maybe he's a one-time, two-time state champ that wants to wrestle in college?
I mean, I think, we're still recruiting really, really hard from the high school athletes, right? Because you're going to have a lot more time with them and be able to build them up. And, during that 5 years where a transfer, you may have 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, with them. So, I mean, I think both, right? We're still getting a lot of high school kids in. We just hired Josh Roden from Clackamas Community College, was there for 16 years. I think won the last 4 junior college national titles, and he's a hustler. Knows the Pacific Northwest. He recruits really well on the East Coast. So, that's obviously going to help our recruiting out a lot. But I mean, we're still talking to, lots and lots of high school kids. I think with the transfer portal, it's kind of like, right now is when the transfer portal's hot, right? Because kids are unhappy or whatever the reason is. They're graduate students from an Ivy League or from Stanford or whatever it may be. So, you keep your options open and maybe you're like, wow, this guy's really attractable to the program, can come in and make an immediate impact and help these younger kids out as well. So, we're still going to sign a lot of high school kids, right? That's where we really make our money. And I think that part will never go away.
Your USA Greco Coach of the Year in 2019. Talk a little bit about how important Greco can be in the development of an athlete. And what are you guys transitioning and doing now that it's summertime, right? Are you guys getting ready for Vegas? Is it a full change over to Freestyle Greco? Talk a little bit about Greco, the impact it has, in the high school athlete, and then why it's important to possibly wrestle freestyle and Greco in the summer.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously freestyle, it translates because we wrestle folk style, we grab legs, but I think Greco, I wish I would have learned it at a much younger age because, it teaches you how to use your hips. It teaches you positioning. It teaches you how to get an underhook, a 2-on-1, and not be afraid to just throw your hips in there and toss somebody right in a folk style match. And I think if you can learn Greco, whether you go compete it at the highest level or not, it helps you so much in folk style and freestyle because you wrestle a guy that's never wrestled Greco before and you start getting your hips in or get a deep underhook or a good 2-on-1. They don't know what to do. And so Coach Halverson, who passed away last year, from CYC in California, he was, I think, the 2016 Olympic team coach. But he taught me my junior and senior year of high school. And then I got to college, kind of got away from it, and then went up to Northern Michigan, then joined the Army. And, Ivan Ivanov is an incredible Greco coach, obviously. So I learned a lot from him. And I learned as I went back to go coach in folk style wrestling with the college guys, like, these guys have no clue when I get double unders or, hit a slide by on them or whatever it may be. And then you're able to use that and teach it, to your guys. And so now moving into freestyle and Greco season, 4 days a week, we're on the mat. We signed up, I think, 16 of our college guys to go to Vegas, a lot of juniors, obviously, a couple of senior level athletes, then Imar, and then 3 of our ladies, Mallory Velty, Alyssa Lampy, and Skylar Groats. So, we're transitioning to that full fledged and, flying out to Vegas the end of the month and hopefully, do well. We got quite a bit of guys that are doing freestyle and Greco. And that's something I love as a, to recruit is a guy that likes to wrestle freestyle and Greco because it just shows that wrestling's wrestling and you don't care, like whatever the style is, we're going to, go out there and throw down. And that's something I always try to give Borelli a hard time about because he wrestled Greco like one time at the state tournament. And so his claim to fame is that, he was an undefeated Michigan Greco state champ. So he never, but look at Casey Cunningham, right? Wrestled Greco a bunch at Fargo and did pretty well. And so we always joke with Casey, Jameel Kelly was really good at Greco. I mean, look at Gabe Dean, right? Like the guy, phenomenal wrestler, and then goes and wrestles Greco and does pretty well at the Pan Ams. Or on the flip side, you have Ben Provisor, couple-time Olympian, couple-time world team member. They need him to wrestle freestyle at the Pan Ams, wins the Pan Ams in freestyle. Why? Because wrestling is wrestling. So that's always what I try to tell young kids when I'm doing camps or clinics is like, try it. You don't have to go compete, but learn it.
Yeah, makes sense. Coach Boudreaux, anything else for Coach Engel and wrapping up?
No, I think we kind of hit our mark, man. I just really appreciate you coming on. It's just good to hear. I don't know, just you're just a normal guy, killing it at the college level with just really basic things at the college level. So I don't know. I can't wait to tell my guys that they come in 7 pounds over the day before and are totally not worried about losing it because you have a good structure. It's going to be very helpful. So.
Well, Coach, thanks for joining us. We've heard so many times that obviously you're one of the great people in the sport, one of the nicest guys out there. And we definitely saw that in our interview today. And as I've gotten to know you, throughout the last, few months, it's been a pleasure. It really has. And thank you to you and your staff and give Coach Pendleton, our best and the Beavers our best. And we'll be rooting for you guys out here in Michigan.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Got to come out to the Michigan State tournament this next year, me and Josh. So appreciate all you guys are doing right at that level too. I mean, without awesome coaches and great technicians like yourselves, college wrestling would be much different. So appreciate your guys' time as well.
Sounds good. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.